of their local officials to ensure their public safety. Thank you, sir.
This morning at our meeting, our Secretary of Transportation and our Commander of the Highway Patrol informed me that evacuation routes are green and that our DOT crews are ready to respond to any flooding and road closings, and our Highway Patrol is out there making sure that people are safe. Our National Guard is activated. We're ready for this, so we'll be glad to answer questions that you might have. Lenny.
Thank you, Governor. A lot of people have been asking us how to volunteer, how to give back, how to help those in need, especially since this is the third major storm we're seeing in 3 years here in our state.
We have amazing volunteers in North Carolina, people of faith who are ready to respond, and we actually coordinate that volunteer effort, which we call our Voluntary Organizations Assistance Team, VOADs we call them. Also, financial contributions are very helpful. On the governor's website, you can contribute to the North Carolina Disaster Relief Fund, which will be activated for this storm. It has provided significant help to people in the past. We know that our local shelters are going to need help, but the Red Cross is doing a lot of that. We probably don't want volunteers just showing up at shelters because you've got to have a vetting process, but there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot to do, and unfortunately, people are going to need help with their homes, and people need to be on the ready. We have a lot of people who have chainsaws to go out and help people clear out right after the storm passes. So I believe people in North Carolina will be ready. Yes, sir.
Governor, obviously we're still recovering from 2 previous storms, and with the Office of Resiliency housed under EMA, does that process kind of get put on hold, or is that continuing roughly apace even while you're gearing up for this? Because obviously there's a lot of paperwork that has to move on certain timetables.
Yeah, we are continuing our effort for storm recovery, and it's one of the purposes of setting up the North Carolina Office of Recovery and Resiliency. Our NCOR is continuing to work on long-term housing issues. Our emergency management is continuing to work with our state people regarding recovery. So that's going on, and since that's all under you, Mike, you might want to comment on it.
Thank you for the question, Travis. The work over at NCOR is going on unabated. Now, obviously, we can't be working along the coastline right now, but they're working very hard to help those disaster survivors from Matthew, because that's what the money currently, that's the money that they have. We've also activated the State Disaster Recovery Task Force for this storm, and our Chief Resilience Officer, who is housed under NCOR, they're already scheduling meetings so that we can begin to start planning for how we recover from Hurricane Dorian as it moves forward. So I will tell you that the work is going on. We're still making payments. There's still construction happening. Now, obviously, for safety's sake, we'll probably have to shut down for a couple of days here, and where some of the construction is happening in Cumberland County and other counties like that. But we're going to try to keep pushing as hard as we can, with safety in mind, of course, and so that's unabated.
Yes, Bill.
Could your meteorologists talk about the impact that we might feel in the Triad area? Those of us who are not that far from the coast, or actually are far from the coast, what can we expect over the next couple of days?
Katie Webster.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that question. And there's been some questions about what Central North Carolina would feel. And I think while the heaviest impacts will be east of I-95, that is not to release Central North Carolina of potential impacts. The Triad specifically could certainly pick up an inch or 2 of rain and may even see some tropical storm force gusts. But certainly as you get west of the Triangle, impacts should lessen significantly. So your key time would be Thursday into maybe the first part of Friday, but otherwise you should be okay.
Wait for a microphone, if you would. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you tell us any more about the man that died, and if there's anything people should know when they're doing storm preparations to ensure safety?
We want to make sure, particularly when people are climbing up and boarding up windows, that can be a dangerous activity. So we want people to keep in mind, this gentleman was trying to get his home ready and was up on a ladder and fell off. He was 85 years old and died as a result of those injuries. I don't know if anybody has any more details on it than that, but it is, we really are very sorry about that and are thinking about his family. But it reminds us that preparations for storms can be a dangerous activity, and particularly after the storm passes, when people have chainsaws and are trying to move heavy trees and limbs, be very careful when you're doing that.
Governor, we know that there are a few counties, handful of counties that aren't going to have early voting, are going to curtail it this week because of the storm. Have you or your administration made any suggestions to the state elections board about potentially extending that into the weekend?
We had an elections meeting in here this morning, and Mike, you might want to give a report on that if you've gotten information from them.
Right, so we did have the Board of Elections here meeting with us today. No final decisions have been made yet, but they're taking a look at different options, and they will be announced shortly.
Yes, sir, Travis, get a mic back there if you can. Thanks.
On National Guard activated and rescue teams, total rescue teams in the field are ready to go into the field, if you have that number.
General Ernst, you want to do it?
Good morning. My name is Jim Ernst. I'm Deputy Adjutant General for North Carolina. Right now we have 390 soldiers that have been activated. That's in 9 different locations. That's 72 force packages for us. And what that means is we got 138 total vehicles, and 56 of them are high water vehicles. We have 19 aircraft that are standing by to help in rescue operations. Anything further? Good?
There may be some swift water that's not included in that number.
No. Okay, thank you. Mike?
Right, so Travis, what we did is, we have 7 urban search and rescue teams that have swift water capability built into them. What we decided to do was to leave all of our swift water rescue capability and urban search and rescue capability that is normally stationed in eastern North Carolina. We left them staged there so that they could take care of local missions. We're surging in other swift water assets. I think there's going to be close to 30 boats, and we're also looking at bringing in some other teams from out of state. We already have one in from Vermont, and we'll be looking at getting a few others shortly.
Governor, at this state shelter in Durham, the Red Cross believes that that shelter will fill up with evacuees. Has the state identified any other locations in this area?
Yes, one of the things we learned from Hurricane Florence is that we do need mega shelters to help with overflow from local shelters. The shelter at North Cape Mall we're looking at. Also, there is another building there, which is an old Macy's that they're working on right now. I know there have been some conversations with the Friday Center, potentially. Right now, I think those are the 2 places. Will you agree with that, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, those are the 2 places that we're looking at. So they're preparing that other place at North Cape Mall. Just the logistics, making sure we got the parking and places for people to go. Any other questions? So we will have a briefing tomorrow. I don't know if we will have another one today. It depends on what happens, so we'll let you know. Thank you very much.